Young Sheldon looks like a comfort show. It has the warm lighting, the family dinners, the childhood jokes, and the kind of sitcom structure that makes everything feel safe. But by the end of the series, young Sheldon becomes something way more depressing than it first appears. Because beneath the jokes, beneath Sheldon's narration, and beneath all the family chaos, young Sheldon slowly turns into a show about failure. Not dramatic, unrealistic failure. Real failure. The quiet kind. The kind where people try their best, make the wrong choices anyway, and then have to live with the consequences. That is what makes the show surprisingly painful to rewatch. Almost every major character wants something better. George wants to feel respected. Mary wants to keep her family together. Georgie wants to prove he is not just some dumb kid. Missy wants to be seen. Meemaw wants freedom without losing the people she loves. And Sheldon wants to escape a world that feels too small for him. The brutal part is that most of them only partially succeed. Or they succeed in one area while losing something else. That is what makes young Sheldon feel more real than a normal sitcom. In most sitcoms, characters have a problem, learn a lesson, apologize, and reset by the next episode. Young Sheldon starts that way. But over time, the reset button stops working. George and Mary's marriage does not magically heal after every fight. Missy does not suddenly stop feeling ignored. Georgie does not get to be a normal teenager again after becoming a father. Meemaw's independence starts costing her, and Sheldon's success slowly pulls him further away from everyone else. The show becomes less about childhood innocence and more about the slow collapse of the life everyone thought they were building. George Cooper is the clearest example of this. George is not a failure because he is lazy or evil. That would be too simple. He is tragic because he is a man who tries to be good, but constantly feels stuck. He wants to be respected as a coach, but his career never becomes what he probably imagined. He wants to be a good husband, but his marriage keeps slipping away. He wants to connect with Sheldon, but there is always a gap between them. And he wants to protect his family, but by the end, his family is already fractured in ways he cannot fix. That is not cartoon failure. That is ordinary human failure. And that is way more devastating. Mary's failure is different. Mary spends the show trying to create order. She wants faith to explain things. She wants rules to protect her kids. She wants her family to be stable, moral, and respectable. But the more her family changes, the less control she has. She cannot stop Sheldon from growing away from her. She cannot stop Georgie from making adult mistakes. She cannot stop Missy from becoming resentful. And she cannot fully fix her marriage with George. That is why her faith becomes so important. Mary is not just religious because she is judgmental or old-fashioned. She is religious because she is terrified of chaos. Faith gives her something solid to hold on to when her actual life keeps falling apart. But even that does not save the family from pain. Georgie's story shows the complicated side of failure. At first, Georgie seems like the irresponsible older brother. He is not academic, he chases girls, he wants money, and he constantly makes reckless choices. But then he becomes one of the most responsible people in the family. The catch is that he only matures because he is forced to. Becoming a father is both his biggest mistake and the thing that turns him into a better person. That is why his arc works. The show does not treat failure as the end of someone's story. Sometimes failure is the thing that forces someone to grow. Georgie loses the normal teenage life he could have had, but he gains purpose. He messes up badly, but he also steps up in a way most people his age never would. Then there is Missy, whose failure is maybe the least fair, because Missy does not fail the same way the adults do. She gets failed by the people around her. She is funny, observant, emotionally intelligent, and often more aware of the family's problems than anyone realizes. But because Sheldon's needs are always louder, Missy becomes the kid who is expected to be okay, and that damages her. Her rebellion is not random, it is not just teenage attitude. It is the result of years of feeling like she had to compete for basic attention inside her own family. Sometimes the easy kid is not actually easy. They are just the kid who learned that complaining does not work. Even Sheldon's success has a strange kind of failure inside it. On the surface, Sheldon wins, he gets out, he goes to Caltech, he becomes the world-famous physicist we know from the Big Bang Theory. But young Sheldon makes that success feel bittersweet, because the more Sheldon moves toward his future, the more disconnected he becomes from the people who shaped him. He is brilliant, but he misses things. He misses emotional moments. He misses how much his family sacrifices for him. He misses how deeply people are hurting around him. And that is the strange irony of the show. Sheldon succeeds intellectually while failing emotionally. That does not make him a bad person, but it does make the show more complicated. Because young Sheldon is not just asking, how did Sheldon become a genius? It is asking, what did everyone else lose while helping him become one? That question is what separates young Sheldon from a normal spin-off. George never gets the respect he deserves. Mary never gets the perfect family she imagined. Georgie never gets a normal adolescence. Missy never gets the attention she needed. Meemaw never gets freedom without consequences. And Sheldon gets his future, but loses the last version of his childhood before he even fully understands what it meant. That is why the final stretch of young Sheldon hits so hard. It is not just sad because George dies. It is sad because his death confirms what the show had been building toward the whole time. There is no reset button anymore. The childhood is over. The family is changed permanently. And all those small failures that seemed manageable across the series suddenly become part of a much bigger tragedy. Young Sheldon accidentally became a show about failure because failure is what made the Cooper family real. Not because they were hopeless, but because they kept going anyway. And in the end, that might be the most honest thing the show ever did.